Good morning and welcome to LiveLaw Academy. On 8th April, the Supreme Court of India, in the case of the state of Tamil Nadu versus the governor of Tamil Nadu, has held the actions of the governor unconstitutional. In this session, I will explain the decision to you, and I will also be touching upon the role of the governor under our constitution. The judgment was uploaded yesterday and it is more than 400 pages, around 415 pages. But don't worry, I'll walk you through the relevant parts of it to make you things understandable. It will be clear to you in the most simplest way. So let's begin. So between 2020 and 2023, the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly passed 10 bills, and then these bills were sent to the governor in order to receive his assent. But the governor did not do anything. He sat on these bills and he did not approve or reject them, and he did not send them to the president for consideration. None of the options were availed. In 2023, he declared that he was withholding assent. Meanwhile, the Legislative Assembly again passed the same 10 bills. Again, they were sent to the governor, but this time the governor sent them to the president for consideration. This led to the constitutional standoff between the state government and the governor. Now, let's discuss Article 200, because the entire case, it revolves around Article 200 of our Constitution. We will be referring to the text in a while, but let's first understand this, that when a bill is passed by the Legislative Assembly, and in those states where there is also Legislative Council, then both Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council, when a bill is passed and it is sent to the governor has three options. The first option, he can give his assent. That is, he approves the bill and then bill becomes the law. The second option is to withhold his assent. He can declare that he has some observations, some objections with respect to it, and then he can return the bill to the assembly for its consideration. The assembly can then reconsider its position. The third option is to send it to the president for consideration, but this can be done only under certain limited circumstances. For example, when the bill affects the powers of the constitutional courts, when it is repugnant to a central legislation, or when prior sanction of the president was required but it was not taken. There is no fourth option. There is no option of sitting over the bill for years, remain silent and delay things forever. No such option is available. Right? Now let's see what is the text of Article 200 and how the court has interpreted Article 200. Then we can move forward to other things. Let me just share my screen. Yes, this is Article 200 of our Constitution. Assent to bills. When a bill has been passed by the Legislative Assembly of a state, or in the case of a state having a legislative council, has been passed by both houses of legislature, it shall be presented to the governor and the governor shall declare. These words are very important. Shall declare either that he assents to the bill, or that he withholds assent therefrom, or that he reserves the bill for the consideration of the president. We can also see first proviso. There are two provisos, but our discussion will be more focused on the first proviso. Provided that the governor may, as soon as possible, after the presentation to him of the bill for assent, return the bill if it is not a money bill, together with a message requesting that the house or houses will reconsider the bill or any specified provisions. He can pinpoint the provisions that he has some reservations with, he had some suggestions to make, right? Then what is provided? Will consider the desirability of introducing such and such. Then the house or houses shall reconsider the bill accordingly. Accordingly. All these phrases that I am putting emphasis on, they have become very important in this case. Accordingly is one such phrase, one such word. And if the bill is passed again by the house or houses, with or without amendment, and presented to the governor for assent, the governor shall not withhold his assent therefrom. Right? This is what is provided in the text. Now let's see how the Supreme Court has interpreted Article 200 in this case. You can refer to 189 and 190, these two paras for it. If you want to see the interpretation, I'll discuss it with you. The structure of Article 200 is helpful, so and so. Now, the Supreme Court has said there is a substantive part of the provision and there are two provisos to the substantive part. In the substantive part, there are three options for the governor to choose from. This is what I have already told you. Each separated by the conjunction or. Right? See here. Shall declare that he assents to the bill. Right? Or withhold his assent, or that he reserves the bill for the consideration of the president. Each separated by conjunction or, thereby indicating the mutual exclusivity of the three options. If the governor opts for the first option and grants the assent, the first proviso does not come into consideration. Right? If he has made the choice that he will be giving his assent, then first proviso has no role to play. That is, it need not be returned back. It should not be returned back for the consideration of the assembly. Similarly, if the governor chooses the third option and reserves the bill for the consideration of the president, there is no occasion for the operation of first proviso again. Here also first proviso has no application. The second proviso, we can leave this for the moment. Then 190 paragraph, the Supreme Court says the use of the expression shall declare in the substantive part of Article 200. Right? The court is referring to this. Right? Whereupon receiving the bill, the governor shall declare. He has to declare his position, what option he is exercising out of the three given options. The use of the expression shall declare in the substantive part of Article 200 indicates what? Indicates that the governor is required to make a declaration from the three choices provided to him under the substantive part. And there cannot be any fourth course of action. No fourth option is available. Right? Then the Supreme Court also declared that in the matters concerning bills, the governor has no pocket veto or absolute veto. He has to confirm his position where he stands, whether he wants to give assent, whether he is withholding it, whether he has reserved it for the consideration of the president. The same has to be declared specifically. Right? So no pocket veto, sitting over the bill for years and doing nothing. For this, the court has explained this position under 197 paragraph 198 and 203 to 206. Let's find out what was said. Right? 197 and 198. See. The use of the expression shall in the substantive part of Article 200 read with expression as soon as possible in the first proviso indicates that there is no pocket veto available to the governor while he is exercising the power under Article 200. The court has specifically declared this, right? If there is any inaction on the part of the governor, right? Inaction on the part of the governor to take a decision when a bill is presented to him under Article 200, it is a gross violation of the constitutional scheme, right? Because such an option is not at all available, we have seen. 198. The governor in exercise of his powers under Article 200 also does not possess any absolute veto. He is mandated to take a decision from among the three options that are provided in the substantive part of Article 200, right? He is bound to follow that procedure. Then, in no case, it is provided here, in no case, the governor has been conferred the power to veto a bill that is presented to him, right? That is presented to him. Okay. So, we have seen what three options are available to the governor under Article 200. We have seen that he has no veto power. Such a power is not envisaged under the constitutional scheme, right? Then the Supreme Court went on to set the timelines for the governors to be followed in case of legislative exercise. It has been laid down by the Supreme Court that when the governor chooses to assent the bill, to give his assent to the bill, when he is going to exercise his power in the light of aid and advice received from the government, Council of Ministers, then he must do so within 1 month. Secondly, if he is withholding, then the first proviso kicks in and he has to return the bill for reconsideration. This exercise has to be done within 3 months. Also, in case he wants to send it to the president in the circumstances that I have already highlighted, this also has to be done within 3 months. If after reconsideration by the Legislative Assembly, the bill is passed, then also the timeline will be 1 month. He has to give his assent within 1 month. Whether he has discretion in this case or not, we'll come to it later. But for the time being, you just understand what is the timeline given by the Supreme Court. The reasoning for such a timeline, because this timeline is not provided in the Constitution. Nowhere it is provided. So there has to be some reason. There has to be some reasoning behind it, right? For this, let's see para 221 of the judgment. Para 221. See, in this judgment, the Supreme Court has dealt with many things, including the constitutional debates around the draft provisions of the Constitution, also the practice that is followed in other countries. Then some reports of the commissions were also taken into consideration. See, para 221. Here the Supreme Court has mentioned what one of the members of the Constituent Assembly, Shri H.V. Kamath, he had to say about the exercise of power. See, Shri H.V. Kamath has argued that in the nature, if you will permit me to say, unless there is a compelling sense of duty or service, there is always a tendency to procrastinate, right? Then the Supreme Court highlights that it was his opinion that such tendencies to procrastinate must be rooted out by infusing a standard of duty or service to ensure timely action on the part of the president. This was in the context of president, but the same can be utilized for the context of, in the context of governor's power, because mutatis mutandis, the same provisions were, they were accepted by the members of the Constituent Assembly, right? He further opined that there exists no assurance that every president, here you can use the word governor also, that every president or governor will consistently adhere to the principle of timely action in the legislative process. Therefore, according to him, it was necessary that Constitution should provide specifically a time limit for a contingency of this nature. He believed that the phrase as soon as possible is vague. It will lead to uncertainty, right? Lead to uncertainty. See, he believed that the phrase as soon as possible to be vague, purposeless, and meaningless, right? So this is what the actual reasoning given by the Supreme Court to come up with these timelines. Then the role of governor in general. The governor, the constitution, our constitutional scheme, it envisages the governor to be a connecting link between the center and the state, right? Center and the state. Then he has to act as a linchpin between the center and the state and not as the political agent. He's not a political rival. He is expected to bring harmony and the sense to the overall process. He is to act like a friend, philosopher, and guide to the state government. He has to act on the aid and advice of the state government. Some amount of discretion has been given to him under Article 163. We'll see the text of 163 now. 163 gives him some discretion, but that discretion has to be exercised on the sound principles of Constitution, on the basis of constitutional conventions. The constitutional conventions have to be respected. Of all people, the governor is most expected to do it in terms of state machinery. Right, now let's see Article 163. 163 of our Constitution. See. Article 163. It provides that there shall be a council of ministers with the chief minister at the head to aid and advise the governor in the exercise of his functions, except insofar he is by or under this constitution required to exercise his functions or any of them in his discretion. So discretion is given to him, but the same discretion is limited by the phrase insofar as he is by or under the Constitution required to exercise. So this discretionary power is not uncanalized. It is limited. And now we can refer to paras 289 and 317 of the judgment. 289 to understand this position much better. 289 para and 370. Let's see. See. What flows from a study of the Constituent Assembly debates concerning the appointment of governor and scope of his discretionary powers is that the governor plays a crucial role in the political structure of the country. He is the bridge between the government at the central and state level, right? Then he is supposed to be a friend, philosopher, and guide of the state government. He should not cause any hurdles in the process. Rather, he must exercise his wisdom as a friend, philosopher, and guide to bring clarity to the process, to bring more unity in the overall setup, right? Then we can refer to 317. See, we had to read the text of the judgment to cull out the relevant portions to make things as clear as possible to you, right? 317. Yeah. The governor under the constitutional schemes is no longer envisaged as the governor. We can leave this. Yes. See, we can read it from here. If the power to withhold assent to bills or to reserve them for the consideration of the president is construed as falling within the exclusive discretionary domain of the governor, who would be free to decide the course of action notwithstanding aid or advice of the Council of Ministers, then it would have the potential of turning him into a super constitutional figure, having the power to bring a complete halt the operation of the legislative machinery in the state. Now, this was not the intention of our constitutional makers, right? So this discretion is not available even when we read 163. 163 has to be read with other provisions of the constitution and the true import of these provisions, right? Then we must understand this, that the legislative assembly, they represent the will of the people. They represent their voices, their choices, and their aspirations. If hurdles are created, if the governor will not act as a constitutional sentinel that he is expected to do. A sentinel is somebody who is an alert guard, a guard who is always on alert. He is expected to be a constitutional sentinel. If he does not act in that manner and creates hurdle, then people will say that he is being political. He is acting as a political agent of the center. This will have an effect on the voices, choices, and aspirations of the will of the people, which are being represented through the legislative assembly, which are making laws on behalf of the people. Right? We must understand this. So a governor, from governor's point of view, he must ask this question always, that whether he is being constitutional or standing against it. Right? He must constantly ask. So that was it. One more thing, the Supreme Court at the end exercise its power under Article 142 of the Constitution, that is power to do complete justice. The Supreme Court has invoked Article 142 and declared that the bills that were in question, the 10 bills, they will be deemed to have been assented to. So a fiction has been created. No assent was given, but by 142, it has been deemed, right? So in this case, the Supreme Court was very firm. The Supreme Court echoed the constitutional spirit. We must ask whether we are just reading the Constitution or we are living it. And as we are approaching 14th of April, that is the birth anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, one of the founding members of our Constitution. He played an instrumental role in drafting the Constitution. So he said something which we should always remember, that a constitution can be very good, but it all depends on those who are going to implement it. If people are not good, the constitution, even a good constitution, will become a bad constitution, right? So we must remember this. So I'm ending this session with these words. They should stay with you. And if you like this session, if you found this insightful, then do share, comment, and subscribe so that you do not miss out on such discussions. Our endeavor here is to make concepts crystal clear to you, and we are always on our toes to do it, and we are happily doing it. So that was it. And till next time, stay informed. If you have the time, read the judgment and stay constitutional. That is very important. Thank you very much. Take care.